There's a moment every man remembers, whether he admits it or not. That moment when the room turns hostile, when the air itself feels sharp, when a voice slices through the calm with a jab that wasn't meant as a joke, but as a strike, a sly accusation, a mocking insult, a statement designed to put you on the defensive, to make you squirm, to force you into the cage of explanation. Eyes shift toward you, waiting for your reaction. Your pulse rises, your chest tightens, and in that instant, you feel the pull of a trap, so subtle yet so powerful, it captures nearly everyone alive. The urge to defend yourself, the desperate hunger to prove, to explain, to correct, to clear your name. But here's the brutal truth, and it's one Machiavelli understood centuries ago. The moment you defend yourself, you've already lost. You've bent the knee without realizing it, because defending yourself is not strength, it's submission. It's the silent admission that someone else has the authority to judge you, to accuse you, to define you. And that is the greatest mistake you can ever make in the game of power. Picture the scene. Someone spits venom at you in front of others. Maybe it's at work, maybe in a relationship, maybe in the middle of a crowded room. They say you're reckless, arrogant, careless, manipulative. Whatever the word, the strategy is the same. They want you to bite, to claw, to explain. And most people do. They rush into long explanations. No, you don't understand. That's not what I meant. Let me explain myself. And in that moment, they've already surrendered. Because when you explain, you shift the frame. You're no longer the man in control. You're the man on trial. And even if you win the argument, you lose. Why? Because power is not about truth, it's about perception. And perception bends to whoever holds the frame. Machiavelli wrote not for the timid, but for princes, for rulers, for men who wanted to stand above the crowd. He understood that in the ruthless theater of life, defending yourself is weakness. He who explains, submits. He who defends, bows. And a bowed man can never command respect. Think of the predator. When a lion is accused of being dangerous, does it call a meeting of the animals to clarify its intentions? Does it publish a statement to reassure the herd? No, it just exists. It just stares. That silent, unblinking presence speaks louder than any 1,000 words of explanation. The lion does not justify its claws. It does not soften its gaze. It does not apologize for its nature. It simply exists as it is, and that is enough to inspire both respect and fear. This is what Machiavelli knew, that silence, the refusal to defend, is not emptiness. It is power. It unsettles. It reverses the frame. It leaves your accuser drowning in the sound of their own words. And soon, the venom they spit begins to choke them, not you. Think of the last time you defended yourself. Really remember it. You explained, you pleaded, you rushed to correct. And yet, did the attack stop? Or did it grow stronger? Most often, it grows, because explanation feeds the attacker. It shows them you're rattled. It proves they touched a nerve. It tells the audience, watching, that there must be some truth to the accusation. Otherwise, why would you be scrambling to disprove it? But when you don't defend yourself, when you let the silence breathe, something else happens. The room shifts. The accuser begins to fidget. Their certainty falters. They repeat themselves, louder, trying to provoke. They add details, desperately, trying to force you to engage. But you remain calm, still, unshaken. And now the crowd sees something different. They see a man who cannot be moved, a man whose presence is too solid, too untouchable. to be brought down by petty words. This is the Machiavellian reversal, to turn silence into a weapon sharper than any reply, to let the air do the work for you, to let the accuser collapse under the weight of their own desperation. Imagine a business dinner. The table is set, the wine is poured, the room buzzing with quiet conversations. Then, suddenly, someone at the table smirks and says, "You always think you're the smartest guy in the room." The typical response: nervous laughter, a quick denial, maybe a rushed joke to ease the tension. And in that instant, the man accused loses ground. He looks guilty. He looks insecure. The accuser has claimed the frame, but the Machiavellian man does something else. He pauses, he looks. No smile, no words, no defense, just presence. Calm, steady, impenetrable. And now the table begins to wonder, why didn't he respond? Did the attack even land? Does he know something the rest of us don't? And suddenly, it is not you under scrutiny, is your attacker. They shift, they squirm, they backpedal. Their confidence erodes. And all without you lifting a finger. That is the power of silence. That is the predator's stare. But silence is not the only weapon. There are times when silence is enough, and times when silence must be sharpened into something else, something deadlier. Machiavelli also taught the art of reframing, not defending, not explaining, but twisting the accusation back upon the accuser. Imagine someone calls you manipulative. The weak response is to explain, "I'm not manipulative, I'm misunderstood." But the Machiavellian response, a cold smile, and the words, "Only people who can't be influenced say that." Now the frame is flipped. They are on trial. Their words, their insecurity, their intent, all of it exposed. Someone calls you arrogant. You do not explain, you do not soften. You say, confidence tends to bother the insecure. Now the crowd doesn't see you scrambling to protect yourself. They see you as calm, sharp, unshaken, and they see your attacker flailing, desperate, diminished. This is not defense. This is offense disguised as stillness. This is reframing the art of never allowing another man's words to define your reality. And the truth is this: the more they understand you, the less they fear you. The more you explain, the less powerful you become. Mystery is the heart of aura. Silence is the cloak that keeps your power hidden in shadow. And humans, rivals, your critics, your enemies, will always overestimate the man they cannot fully read. That is why the most dangerous men in history rarely spoke more than they needed. They kept their words sharp and their silences sharper. Think of Michael Corleone in The Godfather. While others ranted, argued, defended, he simply watched. He let them speak themselves into weakness. He moved only when it was time. His silence carried more weight than their shouting ever could. And so it is with you. Every time you defend yourself, you strip away the aura. You peel back the mystery. You show the world you care about their judgment. And nothing destroys power faster than the need to be understood. But when you refuse, when you let their accusations evaporate in the air, you force them to imagine. And their imagination will always make you larger, darker, more powerful than you really are. That is the genius of silence. There is also torture in silence, a psychological unraveling that works better than any argument ever could. When you refuse to defend yourself, the insecure cannot bear it. They came to provoke, to stir, to watch you scramble. But instead, you give them nothing. You hand them a mirror, and they begin to collapse beneath their own reflection. They accuse louder, add more detail, plead with others for backup. But the more they speak, the weaker they appear. The more they flail, the more desperate they look. And the room begins to see them, not you, as the guilty party. You haven't defended, you haven't explained, and yet you've won. This is the essence of Machiavellian power: to win without lifting a sword, to dominate without defending, to conquer without explaining, to let the battlefield shift beneath your feet until the enemy destroys themselves in their frantic need for validation. And when you've mastered this, you no longer need to fear accusations. You no longer tremble when the room turns against you, because you know the truth that power does not come from defending yourself, but from refusing to. And now imagine the long game, because this is where the true power lies. It's one thing to win in the moment, to silence an attacker in front of others, to reverse the frame with calm presence. But the deeper mastery, the mastery Machiavelli understood, is in what happens over time. Every interaction builds your reputation. Every response, or refusal to respond, becomes a stone in the fortress of your image. And the man who never defends himself builds walls no accusation can climb. Think of reputation like a crown. It rests on your head, invisible yet undeniable. Each time you defend yourself, you tilt the crown, you show that it can be knocked. But when you remain unshaken, when you let the winds of criticism blow past you without bending, the crown grows heavier, more permanent, more untouchable. Others begin to whisper, "He doesn't care what anyone thinks. He moves as if he's beyond judgment." And in their whispers lies your real advantage, because perception becomes reality. The crowd does not admire the man who begs to be understood. The crowd admires the man who doesn't need to be. History proves this again and again. Look at the great leaders, the men who bent nations to their will. They weren't loved because they explained themselves. They weren't respected because they defended against every critic. They were feared, admired, followed, because they stood as stone silent, mysterious, beyond reach. There's a story about Napoleon. His enemies spread countless rumors about him, attacked his name, questioned his judgment. But Napoleon rarely bothered to respond. He let the rumors swirl until they burned themselves out, because he knew what most men never learn. The public forgets accusations, but it remembers presence. It remembers victories. It remembers strength. And no amount of defense would have ever erased the whispers only dominance could. That is, the eternal truth. And it's the same in your life. When you stop defending yourself, you stop living as a defendant. You stop standing in the courtroom of other people's opinions. Instead, you build your own throne. You become untouchable. Not because you are flawless, but because you are indifferent. And that indifferencegold.com unshakentrifies those who try to control you. But make no mistake, this discipline is not easy. It requires tearing out the roots of your conditioning. From childhood, you were trained to explain. A teacher scolds you, you explain. A parent questions you, you explain. A boss accuses you, you explain. The system molds you into obedience, into seeking approval, into living at the mercy of others' judgment. And that is why the ability to stay silent, to refuse the bait, to stand calm while others throw stones, is the rarest and most powerful skill of all, because silence is not weakness. Silence is strength. Silence is strategy. Silence is the man who knows he doesn't need to fight every battle, because his presence has already won the war. And here is where the transformation happens. The first time you try this, it will feel unbearable. Someone will attack you, and every nerve in your body will scream to respond, to explain, to clear your name, to fix the narrative. You will feel the heat rise in your chest, the words pressing against your lips, the instinct to lash back. But if you can master that moment, if you can let the silence live, you will feel something far greater. You will feel power, because the silence is not empty. It is not passive. It is charged, alive, roaring beneath the surface. And everyone in the room will feel it. They will sense the strength it takes to stay still, the confidence it takes to not react, the dominance it takes to remain unshaken. And they will remember it. Long after the words fade, they will remember the way you didn't flinch. This is why men who never defend themselves are remembered as larger than life. They seem different, cut from a rarer cloth, because everyone else scrambles to be understood. Everyone else pleads to be seen. Everyone else tries to clean their reputation with frantic words. But you, when you master this, you stand apart. You radiate a kind of untouchable authority, and authority, once built, becomes self-perpetuating. People begin to defend you in your silence. They filled the gaps themselves. He didn't respond because he doesn't need to. He didn't explain because the truth speaks for itself. He stayed calm because he's above it all. And now, without lifting a finger, your enemy's words are erased not by you, but by the crowd. They carry your banner. They shield your name. And all you did was refuse to defend yourself. There's a darker truth here, too. The man who explains himself too often becomes predictable, and the predictable man is easy to control. People know how to push him, how to provoke him, how to get inside his head. But the man who doesn't defend himself, he is unreadable, unpredictable, dangerous. His silence forces others to guess. And when they guess, they project their own fears onto him. Some will see you as cold, others as wise, some as arrogant, others as unshakable. But all of them will agree on one thing: you are different. You are not like the rest. That difference is the root of power, the separation between you and the crowd. Because if you act like everyone else, you are trapped with everyone else. But if you rise above the need for defense, you are no longer one of them. You are the lion among sheep. And even if they outnumber you, they cannot touch you. So the question is this: will you keep explaining? Will you keep defending? Will you keep living as though the opinions of others are chains around your neck? Or will you take the Machiavellian path? Will you stand silent, calm, unmoved? Will you let their words collapse under their own weight? Will you let the silence do the killing for you? Understand this: the world doesn't need another man begging to be understood. The world needs fewer men like that, and more men like you men, who command respect by refusing to kneel. Men who build their fortress not with words, but with presence. Men who let the storms rage outside, yet remain unshaken inside. And if you master the Sif, you truly embrace the discipline of never defending yourself. You will feel something shift deep within. You will stop fearing judgment. You will stop fearing rejection. You will stop fearing lies and slander, because none of it can touch you anymore. You will have risen above. That is what Machiavelli knew. That is what the great men of history knew. That is what the predators of the world embody without ever needing to explain it. Never defend yourself. Never explain. Never kneel. Let the silence speak, and you will never be controlled again. And if you're ready to step deeper into this world of power, if you're ready to learn not just how to defend against attacks, but how to dominate every room you enter, then stay. with this channel. Subscribe now, because every lesson here is a weapon, every word a blade, every silence a shield. The game is bigger than you think, and the ones who master it are the ones who win without fighting.